All right, well, I'm really jazzed to be here on Super Session. I listened to the before thing where you said who was going to win. Now, I have who I want to win, and then I have what I think is going to happen. Yeah, everybody in that ballpark? Here's what I want to happen. I want it to be an incredibly high-scoring game. I want Cam Newton jumping over, scoring touchdowns, that whole little Cam show. I want the whole thing. And then I want Peyton throwing a long pass at the very end and winning the game. That's what I want. I think Mr. Newton is a phenomenon, and I hope that Peyton can hold on. I'll be done. If Broncos win, the Denver defense is going to have to step up. All right? All right, that's it for me on Super Bowl Sunday. Okay, about 9:45 on a rainy Saturday morning, I got in my car and I drove the 7.5 minutes from my house to my local Blockbuster. I was on a mission. Y'all remember Blockbuster? You remember DVDs? Well, my wife and I, we have these 2 young daughters, and we thought that this rainy Saturday morning would be the perfect Saturday morning to introduce to them Swiss Family Robinson, where I didn't own a copy, but I knew where I could get one, my local Blockbuster. So I got in my car, I drove this 7.5 minutes. Now this is one of those big rains, where you got those big, huge raindrops. You ever had one of those where like 6 raindrops in, you're already soaked? This is one of those type of rains. So I got out of my car, I got up to the Blockbuster. Now once I get up to the Blockbuster, I'm no longer being rained on. Okay, it's like at a shopping center. You had like a Blockbuster, and you had a nail salon, a florist, and a few other shops down the way, a donut shop. And I get up to the doors of the Blockbuster. I'm no longer being rained on, and it's locked because when Blockbuster used to open, it used to open at 10. So with the few minutes that I had, I decided I'm just going to window shop. I'm just going to walk down the awning and see what I can see. So I walk down the awning, I pass the nail salon, I pass the florist, and I see there's this man, and he is standing under the awning, totally dry, with this huge smile on his face, and he is staring out into this rain-soaked parking lot. He's not moving, he's very confident, he's got this huge smile on his face, and he is holding open this huge umbrella. Not a large umbrella. You'd have to Google huge umbrella and have this shipped. You couldn't just go and buy it at Walmart or something. Huge umbrella. But he's not moving. He's standing very, very confidently with this huge umbrella and this huge smile on his face, and he's staring out at this rain-soaked parking lot. And I walked past him, I said hello, and he said hello, and my curiosity was piqued. I was like, what is this guy up to? So a couple of different scenarios run through my mind. I think, well, maybe he's waiting for one of the shops to open. I thought, well, if he's waiting for the shops to open, why doesn't he turn around and wait? And I thought, well, maybe he's waiting for the rain to die down. Does anybody see a problem with that? Well, he's got the umbrella. He's got the tool to meet the challenge of the rain. And then I remembered a sign that I saw on a call center I was doing a consulting project for. And that sign said, we cannot promise others sunny weather, but we can promise to hold an umbrella over them when it rains. And as soon as I remembered that quote, I turned to that gentleman, I said, sir, this is your donut shop. And he said, yes. Yes, it is. And I said, sir, you are standing here with this huge umbrella waiting for your guests, waiting for your customers to come into this rain-soaked parking lot. And when you see them come into this rain-soaked parking lot, you're going to run out there and you're going to guide them safe and dry into your donut shop. And he said, yes. Yes, I am. And I said, wow, sir, that is outstanding customer service. And he took this little pause. And I didn't think it was possible, but his smile got a little, I'm not sure if it's huger or more huge. His smile got a little more, I'll just go with more huger. His smile got a little more huge. English is hard. His smile got a little more huger, and he said, no, it's my pleasure. And the way he said, it's my pleasure, I could tell he meant it. Now, have you ever had a conversation, or have you ever had somebody say, it's my pleasure, and you knew that they were just saying something they were supposed to say? It's kind of like, have you ever called up a customer service department, and as soon as they said, may I help you, you knew they could not help you? Just by the way they said, may I help you? Well, see, this guy meant it. It was his pleasure. Now, was it good customer service? You bet. Would it help ensure customer loyalty? You bet. But see, it was also something. He met the challenge of that rain. He was able to create an experience, a progress-based impression in that situation. Einstein says, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. He found the opportunity to help progress. It's the same thing in our industry, or the industry that I get the opportunity to work with you. By the way, it's Islands in the Sun. Thank you very much for sponsoring. Thank you. One more blood applause to those guys. It's the same thing. We can't promise everything's going to be perfect, but we can promise to continue to be there for them in those situations. In those situations, to continue to build those relationships. To build those relationships. Now, with the time that I have with you guys, and I'm not going to keep you, I'm real surprised. Nobody wants to watch the first half. I was surprised at that. So I got about a 2-hour thing. It should be. No, I think this is the shortest keynote I've given in a long time. Because I'm done. Funny thing, I knew it was going up against something when you're going up against the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's funny. But what I'm going to be talking with you guys today really is what I call the progress challenge. The 4 big benefits of what we're going to, I hope you like raining donuts. The 4 big benefits of what we're going to talk about. The first benefit of meeting the progress challenge, the first benefit is that it is established and cements internal and external loyalty. It's that teamwork. The external loyalty is what? That's all our customers. That's the customers who keep coming back again and again and again. Our internal loyalty is that teamwork that we're building. So we continue to be progress for them and not change. The second is that it creates better leaders, better team members, and better organizations. The third is that it attracts new business and generates quality referrals. That's exactly what we're doing here in this event over the next 2.5 days. And the last is it creates career development and life balance. But really what we're talking about is progress. Progress. Now, it's interesting. I know a lot of people come to you and they'll say they want to, travel somewhere. I just need a change. I just need something new. But do they really want change or do they want progress? See, there's a big difference between progress and change. All progress is change, but not all change is progress. All progress is change, but not all change is progress. If I have an upset stomach, my tummy hurts. Oh, I need change. This has got to change. Oh, I need change. And what is your name, ma'am? Erin. And Erin hears me. She wants to help me, so she hops up here and she runs up here and she punches me in the nose. Is that change? Yeah, it's change, but it's not progress. At least not to me, maybe to you. Let me say it another way. Those of you in this room who are single, or maybe you just plan on being single. I don't know. What happens in Little Rock stays in Little Rock. It's a different PowerPoint presentation. But have you ever said to yourself, oh, I need to meet somebody new? And then you met somebody new, and you're like, oh, no, not that person new. You walk into a room full of opportunity, and you go, oh, that's change, that's change, that's change, that's change. Hey, that's progress. See, it's all in the way we size it up in our minds. Have you ever heard that it was good to get to know people? Yeah, so the reason for that is so you can position things in their mind as progress and not change. See, it's very natural for us to resist what we view as change, but we embrace what we view as progress. It's very natural to resist what we view as change, but we embrace what we view as progress. So our ideas, our recommendations, our travel recommendations, our product and services, our sales styles, our working environments, our service initiatives, all must be positioned as progress in the minds of those that we wish to move into positive action. Now, I'm using a whole lot of words there to really describe this one word that for the longest time I really tried to avoid. There's this. I've been speaking for 46 years, but only professionally for 16. And when I first started, as soon as you call yourself a speaker, there's this little word that people want to plop in front of it, and that word is motivational. A motivational speaker. And it doesn't bother me so much now to get the label motivational speaker, but back when I first started, it really did, because I thought of somebody who was a little bit swarmy, a little plastic, and they wouldn't need a stage, they just kind of hover, and they'd tell you their rags to riches story. But then I dug in it a little more, and really you can take the word motivation and you can break it up into 2 parts. Motivation is really a motive for action. A motive for action. A motive for action. Shakespeare says strong reasons make strong actions. Strong reasons make strong actions. Now we have an opportunity in this environment over the next couple of days, not only just to learn things, but to start building priceless business relationships. Networking is a huge part of what you guys have the opportunity to do. Networking. Networking. When I went to my very first networking event, Well, let me say it like this. Anytime I talk about networking, there's a lot of people, oh, networking. Oh, it seems like it's so kind of pressurized and stuff. And I understand what they mean by that, because when I walked to my very first networking event, a gentleman saw me. That's probably as far as I am from the exit right there. A gentleman saw me. He made a beeline straight to me and he said, "Do you got vinyl siding?" And I said, "No, sir, I don't have vinyl siding." He said, "Well, you need it. Here's my card." And he didn't just hand me his card. He actually put his card into my coat pocket. And if you go into my closet and find that coat, you'll probably find that card. And by the way, my house won't be hard to find. It's the one without vinyl siding. See, networking is not meeting people. Over these next 2.5 days, you guys have an opportunity to meet, hopefully meet through select travel, a lot of new people, meeting them. But there's a big difference between met and net. A big difference between meeting someone and building a priceless business relationship with them. And it all comes down to this quote from Shakespeare. Strong reasons make strong actions. Do we want people to take strong actions in our favor? Yes, then we need to give them strong reasons to do it. It's not just about meeting them. Do we want to be involved with movers and shakers? It doesn't have to be rhetorical. Do we want to be in relationships with movers and shakers? What are they already doing? Moving and shaking. So what do we need to be doing? Moving and shaking. See, we can't go into a networking moment looking for success. We have to take success with us into that moment. And notice, I said networking moment. I did not say networking event. You can go to tons of networking events. You can go to every function over the next 2.5 days and be a part of it all. Does that mean you're networking? No, there's a stepping out point. There's a connection point. And so I put together what I call the code, the C, the O, the D, and the E. The 4 steps to building priceless business relationships to help you meet the progress challenge, to help you work and win in a world of change. Because people aren't going to build a priceless business relationship with you just because they met you. They're going to do it because they view it as progress. Last slide. When you talk about progress, everything we do, consciously or subconsciously, we do because we believe the perceived consequences of those actions are that we're going to feel the unique right mixture of what I've labeled the 6 P's of progress. Pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power. Pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power. Has anybody ever gone someplace because they could brag about it to their friends? What would that be? Prestige, right? So all these things come down to it. Anybody ever gone or wanted to go someplace because it was going to be a good deal? That'd be profit. Let's jump totally out of this business and go into like insurance. People get traveler's insurance. I'm sure but people don't want insurance. The goal is not insurance. What's the goal? Peace of mind, or even pain avoidance. See, the goal is not the insurance. It's the benefits behind the insurance. So the code, the C, the O, the D, and the E. To understand that everything we do, everywhere we're connecting with people, they need to be able to see that relationship with us as the unique right mixture of pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power. The C in the acronym stands for Create Personal Curb Appeal. Create Personal Curb Appeal. Now, anybody who's ever bought a house or you got an office, you know what curb appeal is. It's how does that building, how does that house look from the street? Well, sure. An easy tip for me to roll out with any group I'm in front of is to encourage you to look sharp. But I'm not encouraging you to look sharp only because of how the other person views you when you look sharp. I'm much more interested in encouraging you to look sharp because how do you feel when you look sharp? Yeah, you feel sharp. See, creating personal curb appeal is about your buzz, your role, about your opportunities. When I was listening to Islands in the Sun, those things, did you feel that curb appeal that they had? They really believe in what you're offering. And it made me want to go, man, I want to do all those things. Some of them, twice. Dynamite stuff. So it really comes down to how you view that. See, if we want people to be jazzed about being around us, if we want people to be jazzed about our products and services, we need to be jazzed about our products and services. We need to be jazzed about us. It's not just knowing about it. It's also connecting with how it can be progress. Create personal curb appeal. The O in the acronym is open face-to-face relationships. And you guys have that great opportunity now. Hopefully it's one of the major reasons that you came. But it's not going to happen because you met somebody one time. It takes a series of progress-based impressions to go from met to net. A series of progress-based impressions. Now we've got a great opportunity, but like in a function like right now, there's nobody networking. The networking is what's going to happen tonight, and the great appointments that you guys are setting up. It's that type of opportunity. The opening face-to-face relationships. The D stands for deliver solid first impressions. Deliver solid first impressions. Now, I'm not going to buck the system and say that first impressions, don't matter, because they do. But you're not going to be able to price this business relationship because you met somebody one time. You got to build on that first impression. How many of you have ever heard that it was good to smile? Anybody heard of that? Yeah, I don't see anybody writing that down. Of course, we all know it's good to smile. But see, there's a why behind it. Why is it good to smile? It's because when you smile, have you ever had somebody smile at you? When they smile at you, how does it make you feel? It gives you a little bit of pleasure, right? See, those are reasons behind it. Same with a firm handshake. Who's for the firm handshake? Yeah, everybody in this room is for the firm handshake. In fact, if you ever talk about delivering solid first impressions, somebody will talk about, I did the trifecta, I guess. It was, smile, get to know the person, and give a firm handshake, right? Firm handshake. It's great to have a firm handshake, but who in this room wouldn't be prepared to accept a dead fish handshake from Warren Buffett? Right? Now, I'm not saying Warren Buffett has a dead fish handshake. I'm sure he has the appropriate billionaire handshake. I'm just saying he don't need it. If he decided I'm not going to use the hand, the muscles in my hand anymore, you'd be like, give me that hand. Because we know that Warren Buffett can be what? Progress. Right? So we overlook that. So it's not necessarily just those simple things. It also comes down to communication. There was a study done at UCLA that talked about the way that we communicate. And 55% of the way that we communicate and build trust comes from the nonverbal. That's what's great about events like this, where we're actually getting mano a mano, getting face to face. 38% was on the pitch and tone of our voice, and a whopping 7%, only 7% was on the words that we say. Now, when I talk about tone or pitch of our voice, it's like, sir, what is your name? So what is it? Jan? Jan, you look great today. Or I could say, Jan, you look great today. Did I say the same words? But did I say the same thing? Yeah, there's a classic sentence, I didn't say she stole the money. I can say that several different ways. I didn't say she stole the money. 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 Did I say the same words? But did I say the same thing? See, it's that tone and pitch of our voice, whether it's our internal team or our external team, that really weighs in. And that 7%, that words, have you ever gotten a text message from somebody and you read it? And you read it again? And you're like, hey, come here, read that. No, I know what it says, but what are they saying? Because we don't know the inflection that goes into it. That's why it's so important on events like this, that you are building that relationship so you can read between the lines, because you know that person. You know their inflection, you know how they roll, you know their humor, you know their style. But there's another important thing that when it comes down to the words, and that is terminology. Sometimes we're using terminology that's in our industry, but that's not necessarily in the traveler's industry, in their vernacular, that we don't even need to utilize. We have it on our end, but not on their end. So it's real important that we don't necessarily use those words. We use things that don't necessarily encourage more questions. And the terminology really came home to me, oddly enough, by the song Moves Like Jagger. Has anybody ever heard that song, Moves Like Jagger? I got those moves like Jagger. I got those moves like Jagger. Those of you who have not heard the song, that's exactly how it sounds. Those who have heard the song, I apologize. But my daughter and I, I was driving the car. She was in the passenger seat. She was 15 at the time. And that song came on. She's just jamming. I got those moves like Jagger. I got those moves like Jagger. And I was like, wow. So I decided, I'm going to test myself. I'm going to see what kind of rock and roll dad I am. So I said, well, honey, you sure like this song? She said, oh, I do, Papa. I said, well, the song's Moves Like Jagger. What's a Jagger? And without missing a beat, she said, Mick Jagger. And I was like, cool. My daughter knows who Mick Jagger is. I'm a rock and roll dad. And I should have just stopped right there. I should have stopped there, but I pushed it. I said, well, that's great, honey. Who's Mick Jagger? And she took this little pause, and then she said, isn't that the guy who can make a bomb out of anything? I said, no, that's MacGyver. Now, I said Mick Jagger, she said MacGyver, and I bet there's some people in this audience who are thinking MacGruber. Because it's really important that we understand terminology and the words that we use and how they affect the other person. There's a lot of other things that go into delivering a solid first impression and be able to build on that. And one of those is to focus on being interested in the other person rather than trying to be interesting to the other person. It's much more important, it's actually vital, to focus on being interested rather than interesting. If we focus on being interested, then we're learning about that person, right? We're learning what makes them tick. We're learning how we can show them that we can be progress for them, how we can offer them pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain, avoidance, and power. Now, I've said that many times, it's much more important to focus on being interested than interesting. And I had this one person, and one time she said, what team? That's tough. It's much easier to focus on yourself. Well, I said, well, it might be easier to focus on yourself, but that doesn't mean you're interesting. Does it? It just means you're talking about yourself. In fact, the only thing we can guarantee is that we're interested, not interesting. You can't guarantee I'm interesting. You might think you are, but that doesn't mean you are. So it's really important as we're talking to people and connecting with them that we realize that we're in it for the long term. Because we've all met dynamite people who would have been great to have priceless business relationships with. We've met them. But we haven't built a priceless business relationship because we didn't follow through. It takes a series of progress-based impressions. Now, what's great about events like this, and I see Erin's got her name tag on, and everybody's got their name. What is your name, sir? Stan. Stan's got his on. I can barely see it. Then what's great about events like this is everybody's got their name tags on. But a lot of times you go into functions or you're connecting with somebody and the name thing comes up, and I talk a lot about the power of remembering and utilizing people's names. And I'll talk to people about, it's so important to remember and utilize people's names. I'll see people, Dean, I have such trouble remembering names. And I say, what do you mean by that? What do you mean you have trouble remembering names? You mean you meet somebody one day and then you see them 3 weeks later and you can't remember their name? They're like, no. I walk up to Stan, and Stan says his name, and then I say my name, and then, poof, Stan's name just disappears. And we think in that moment that we actually have trouble remembering names, but I don't think that's true. In that moment, our situation was not that we had trouble remembering names, it's that we didn't hear it in the first place. So now I'm standing here looking at Stan, and he's talking, and I'm kind of nodding my head, and in the back of my mind I'm going, what is that guy's name? Man, what is wrong with me? And anybody taking notes, remember what I said was the C in this acronym. The C is create personal curb appeal. That is you feeling great about you being you, right? So now Stan throws out his name, it plops off my chest, lands on the floor, and I'm going, man, what is wrong with my curb appeal? I'm stupid. What is wrong with me? Now, I'm lucky that Stan's a guy. Because there's one little thing that we as guys, we got, if we don't know another guy's name, we've got a lot of ways we can cover it up. Right? Hey, buddy. Yeah, dude. I know now everybody's using dude, but dude, I've been called captain. Right? Now, there's a couple I know that you can't use, everybody did. See, I can go, hey, man, right? Hey, man. But I can't go, hey, woman. Can you? No, you can go, hey, big guy. Hey, big guy. But you can't go, hey, big guy. Can't do that. Now, I've seen some things people do to try to cover it up, right? Now, I'm not recommending these. These are not my recommendations. These are things I've seen people do. So now I'm talking to Stan, and he says something I think is remotely interesting. So I go, hey, Stan, can I get your car? Hey, Stan, yeah, there he is, Stan. Or let's say I'm talking to Stan, and I don't remember his name, and we're talking, and I see somebody come by, and I go, hey, you know what? You need to meet this person. Y'all say hi. Y'all get to know each other. Y'all good people. Say hi. But it's really important that we understand that it's a series of progress-based impressions. A series of progress-based impressions. Now, at this point, I'm sure it's very easy to know that the next thing somehow comes into following up. Have you ever heard that it was good to follow up with the people that you meet? Everybody's heard that. But the real challenge is, so oftentimes, we met somebody, but we didn't have a real conversation, so we're very limited with what we can say in our follow-up. If we didn't have a real conversation, then we're very limited. All we can really say is, nice to meet you. Hope to see you again soon. Bye. Because we didn't have a real conversation. We didn't have a real conversation. And it also goes in for referrals too. If we want to get referrals, we need to be as connected as we possibly can. And referrals come from our relationships and from great service. And I talked about that a little bit earlier. I'll give you one little story more about great service and referrals. About 6 years ago, my wife and I, our family, we were moving into a new house. We were still living in the same general vicinity, but we decided we were going to hire a moving company. So I called my local chamber of commerce, and I asked them for a reputable moving company. And they gave me the number, and I called them, and they answered on the second ring, and very professional. And I said, hey, we're going to be moving next week. Need a crew to come out at 10 o'clock on Tuesday to help us. And he was like, no problem. And so they had we set it up for 10 o'clock, 3 workers and a foreman. Sure enough, at the exact right time they came. So they got there and they brought some extra boxes for my wife and I to put books in boxes. And they'd been there about 15 minutes. And my wife and I were back in the back bedroom putting books in boxes, and we hear this crash. And we had, focus on the word had, we had these 2 matching lamps on either side of our sofa that we thought were pretty unique and pretty snazzy. And I can just tell that sounded like a unique, snazzy lamp smashing. So my wife and I, we kind of look at each other, and before we could even get up and get out of the room, the foreman came right into the master bedroom. He said, Mr. and Mrs. Lindsay, I'm sure you heard that. And I said, yeah, well, I heard that. He said, well, that was one of your matching lamps, and it's our policy to reimburse you for anything any damages that we caused. So just let me know how much that lamp was, and we'll reimburse you for the cost. So we agreed upon the price, and we got back to putting books in boxes. Got to be around lunchtime. We filled the SUV with boxes, and we went off and had lunch. And after lunch, we went over to the new house and started unloading. When we got over to the new house, the crew had already gotten there in front of us, and they were already loading the big truck. And the foreman stopped what he was doing, walked over to us, went into his shirt pocket, pulled out a check for the agreed upon price, and handed it to my wife. Instead of going to lunch, he had gone to get a reimbursement for that lamp, which was something that was already kind of, going around in my noggin, because just being told you were going to get reimbursed is a lot different than getting reimbursed. Now, I would call that good service. I would even say that's even somewhat referable service. But what really put it over the top that made me someone who was ready to shout the praises of this moving company was, the next day, the foreman called me and he said, Mr. Lindsay, first he kind of asked me about the move and how I like the new house. I said, it's rocking, it's going to work great for us. He said, well, Mr. Lindsay, I felt really bad about us breaking your lamp, and so I wanted to let you know I took some of the contact information off the bottom of the lamp, and I made some phone calls. And I found that lamp in the Metroplex, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, for around the same price that we agreed upon. I said, wow, that is really great, thank you. So he gave me all the information, and he said, well, I want you to get the lamp that way, but if you want to save a little more money, or save a little money and we don't want any of our money back, I found that lamp online for less than the agreed upon price with free shipping. You don't think I referred that moving company? I encouraged my friends to move to use those guys. Now you guys would think it would be pretty fishy if I didn't give you the whole code. Y'all get that? COD. This program is brought to you by Sesame Street. The E in the acronym stands for Earn Trust. How many people is this the first time you've come to Select Travel? How many is it the second, third, fourth, fifth? Yeah, that's what starts earning trust. I bet you like seeing those hands. That's right. Because that's why you come back again and again. I'm sure you like the whole setup. But the real thing is this is a powerful group. This organization can be progress for you. Pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power. See, they've earned your trust. And hopefully if there is a challenge, they can easily overcome it. Have you got some clients, some customers that if they have a problem, they'll call you up and they're really, really, really upset? And then you have other ones that'll call you up and it's equal size of a problem, but they're not that upset? Well, one of the major reasons is that trust level. See, they have built up a trust level with you that they know that you are going to cover it. They know that you have their back. So it's vital that we connect with that, because the more that we can build those priceless business relationships, the more that we can, we know that we're re-seeing. Did anybody make a phone call to somebody else in this room and say, hey, are you going this year? I see some people right there shaking their head, yes, because you want to reconnect with those people. So it's really important that we realize that we are the company to the customer. Whether it's the internal customer that we're building relationships, that we're actually going to partner up and go put on events together, or it's that external customer. We are the customer to the client. If I call up AT&T and I get Doug, so I'm talking to Doug. Doug rocks. Doug explains my bill to me, makes a few changes, I get off the phone with Doug. My wife comes in, she says, who are you talking to? I don't say Doug. I say, why are you always in my business? As I'm walking away with my lamp. So it really is interesting when we talk about building those priceless business relationships and positioning ourselves as progress and not change. Now, a lot of what I've talked to you about not only is covered in a couple of the books that I've crafted over the years, but it really comes down to this work of a gentleman named Dr. Viktor Frankl. Has anybody heard of Dr. Viktor Frankl? Well, I'm happy to introduce him to you. Dr. Viktor Frankl is an Austrian neurologist. He's a Holocaust survivor. He wrote one of the books that the Library of Congress considers to be one of the 10 books that made the most difference in people's lives, and that is Man's Search for Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning. He's the founder of what's called logotherapy, meaning therapy. It's interesting when we connect it with travel and the travel industry that people are doing it for reasons. Everything we do for a reason. Have you ever done something and the next minute you say, why'd I do that? Yeah, well, so you did have a reason. You might not have liked the reason behind it. You might not have gotten the perceived consequences that we wanted to get, but we always have a reason. Now, logotherapy, meaning therapy. Logotherapy is all around the world. In fact, they do world congresses. I've been to 2 world congresses. And when I went to my second world congresses, I was pretty confident. But the very first world congress I was at, I was incredibly intimidated. It was me and about 80 different clinicians from around the world. Literally, I was the only one there without letters attached to my name. Well, I am a junior, but that really doesn't play in that environment. Dean Lindsay, JR. But what he really talks about is you can't control what happens to you, but you can control your reaction to it. And they all know another of his statements is between stimulus and response, there's a space. And it's in that space that we can choose our response. And when we are in the sales mode, when we're in a networking mode, when we're in a connection mode, we're the stimulus, and we're hoping to get the response. And we hope that response is them being attracted to us. When we're in events like this, we are trying to be attractive. And when I say attractive, I don't mean, ooh la la, I want to smooch you. I mean, ooh la la, I want to alter my life to include you. Do you realize that? If people are going to build a priceless business relationship with us, they're going to have to do something different than what they've been doing, right? I said that to a group one time, that we're in the business of altering people's lives. We're in the business of altering people's lives. And this gentleman, he was right smack in front of me, he started shaking his head, and I said, sir, I think you disagree with something I just said. He said, I do. I disagree. I'm not out there to alter anybody's life. I just want to make their lives better. Is better altering? Most definitely. Now I want to wrap up my presentation with a quote from Emily Dickinson. Now, Emily Dickinson, with a phrase from Emily Dickinson. And that phrase is, dwell in possibilities. Dwell in possibilities. Over these next 2 days, you've got the opportunity to see a lot of great new possibilities. Select Travel put together an incredible event, but it's your responsibility. It's your opportunity to see how much you can make of it. So dwell in possibilities. Create personal curb appeal, open face-to-face relationships, deliver solid first impressions, earn trust. 6 P's of progress, pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain, avoidance, and power. To wrap up my presentation, I'll wrap it up in 2 words. And those 2 words are be progress. Be progress. But I want you to confuse that with make progress. I think a group like this, you guys want to make progress. It'd be very condescending for me to say make progress. I'm encouraging you to be progress, to position yourself as the unique right mixture of pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain, avoidance, and power. Thank you. Go Denver. Be progress.